Welcome to this demonstration of augmented data quality. Let's start with some generic concepts. Augmented data quality delivers automation of core data quality processes augmented by machine learning underpinned by the core Datactics data quality platform. So that means that there still are three core pillars in the Datactics platform, which are Flow Designer, our rule building studio, Data Quality Manager, which is the connectivity hub, and the server environment where all data quality operations are automated, and then Data Quality Clinic, which is where bad data gets quarantined for the remediation process. Augmented data quality also interacts with the Insights Hub, which is an advanced analytics layer to provide insights on the data quality process. And then the ADQ is effectively a user interface on top of all of this logic. So here is the login page for ADQ. The broker of authentication and authorization is the data quality manager at the back end, so we can leverage all of the permissions that have been set up there and all of the integration with the authorization and authentication protocols supported by Data Quality Manager. There are a variety of user types that would be interacting with this platform, and for each user type we can configure which are the visible entities in the navigation tree, and we can also decide what is going to be the default homepage. The first type of user to interact with the platform is a data administrator that is tasked with effectively setting up the connectivity against the source data. So this person would have access to the data source definitions and would be able to add new data sources in a wizard type experience. We support a variety of data sources from AWS S3 buckets to Azure Data Lake, second generation, of course, CSV and Excel files, and database connectivity. So within the database connectivity, it's possible to select some DBMS types. And by doing that, the software already pre-populates some of the attributes. I can decide what is the permission group that belongs to this source, so that this will help me to further segregate the people that will be able to see the views that I generate from this source. Then I'll be able to connect via a JDBC URL, which is pre-formatted in this case for ease of configuration. I'll be able to choose if integrated security is required, or if I should go by username and password. And then I'll be able to set all of the advanced properties required for this source and map it against the appropriate driver. Once the source has been configured, according to my permissions, I can view, edit, or delete the source, or I can also test connection, which effectively pings the database to then make sure that the source is available. Once data source definitions have been set up, I can leverage them to generate data source views, which is the means of accessing source data for the purpose of profiling and data quality monitoring. I can, of course, leverage all of the data source views for sources I have permission to see. It's very easy to search for the views that are relevant for my interaction. I can also add some new data source views. When doing that, I'll be prompted to give a name to my view, an optional description, and I'll be able to select a data source definition to base my connection from. And in this case, we set up one SQL source that I'm going to leverage for this demo. There's two ways of interacting with the source. If I had a script, or if I knew how to write an SQL query, I could simply type it in a query box. Or we can use our JDBC toolsets to drive the user, to guide the user through this interaction. I'll be able to select a table For example, here I will select the party table and I'll be prompted with some information about the columns that exist in this table. Um, I'd be able to see also if there's any foreign columns that I could use to join this information against another table. And effectively, I'll be able to select what I want to use here. Optionally, I'll be able to specify a where clause to extract less records if I already knew that some were not relevant. And that is how I can create a new data source view.
So here we have the profiling panel, and within the data profiles, we can execute various profiling jobs to run against the data sources and views that we have set up. So for example, we may want to profile a data source and suggest data quality rules that could be executed against it. We may want to profile a source and perform an analysis on the data, for example, a frequency analysis, a pattern analysis, a character analysis, and so on. Or we may want to profile a data source and find out information. For example, are there any outliers within this particular data source or sources? Now we're going to walk through how we configure a profiling job to execute against our data sources that we have set up. So here I'm going to give my new job a name. So I want to profile data to suggest data quality rules. I can give it a description. I can point it towards a particular data source. So I'm going to look at one of the SQL sources that I have set up previously. And I want to look at some customer data and suggest data quality rules that could be executed against that. This then brings me to my profile page. So here I'm going to use one of our microservices, which is AI rule suggestion. And we're going to set up the microservice to suggest some data quality rules to execute against the customer data source. So I want to check certain columns within this data set, for example, ID, make sure that's valid, maybe first name that it's populated, last name that it's populated, city, postcode, and country, and so on. I then want, I can set here, does it run on a sample of the data or will it run on the complete data set? So I'm going to set a sample of data here. So maybe the first 100 rows. I can then decide the threshold that I'm going to set. So this means I only want to return rules suggested above a certain threshold. In this case, I'm going to do 0.9, with 1 being the highest. So I want some high confidence rules returned. And then I hit create, and that is our profiling that has been implemented. So here it is, and then all I do is select run, and then I start to execute that profile, which is now going to suggest data quality rules for me. Job, and you can see here these are then the suggested rules that are presented to me. So the ML microservice rule suggestion has suggested 37 rules against the customer data set that I pointed it to. So you can see here we've got country, ID, first name, and it presents different data quality rules that are previously pre-built rules. They can be reused and configured from our rules library. and these can be then automatically applied to our data set. I can turn on and off these rules, for example, country rules here. I can decide that I don't want to implement any of these country rules, or maybe I just want to implement some of these country rules. For example, I want to check to see if it's a valid country or not. Um, So let me take a look at the name, and I want to implement all of these checks. For first name, I can toggle on and off these buttons, and I can go and create these rules. And I can do a bulk create, or I can create these rules individually where I can go in and configure each of these rules. So for the sake of time, I want to do a bulk creation of these rules. And this means that these are all going to be added into my rule library. So these are customer rules. So I'm going to give it a little prefix customer to help me searching for my rules. And then the code behind the scenes will automatically generate IDs. I can go in and I can configure these rules to be added to my rule library. Um, and I can go in and I can add information, for example, on regulations that these rules are applied to, different business areas, priority, and so on. And this is all useful information that can be used whenever we are presenting our results in the insight hubs and the metrics around that. So we can see here, this was the data source, the data view that I used. I can click here to say which columns it's applied to. So if it's the first name we've applied it to, we can set the primary key columns here. And we can hit create. So this has informed me that we've got 13 new rules that have been added to the rule library. I hit OK. Now if I navigate to my rule library, I'll be able to see those rules that I have created. So you can see that these are generic rules, and you can see that they're all being added now to my rule library. And within here, I can then schedule when and where these rules should be executed.
Core of the interaction for a data quality author within the platform is the rule library. Here is where I can see a list of rules that have been defined within the system. And rules have many attributes associated with them. I can decide how to customize my grid to show the attributes I am interested in. So for example, I have data quality dimensions, I have a variety of technical attributes, I have weights and thresholds for rules, I have these characteristics about the data that they are measuring. So I may decide to display the data domain that the rules are associated with. So yes, this is totally customizable for the user. In this particular grid, we have a rule ID, which is a unique identifier for the rule. We have a name, which describes what the rule is doing. We have a rule type, and in this case, we have two types of rules. One is a generic rule, which means that it is reusable across as many inputs as the user would like to. And then we have custom rules that are specific to certain inputs. Some of our customers built thousands of rules in the Datactics system, so we have added a filter functionality to be able to quickly navigate the rules layout. So I could, for example, decide to focus on the rules that are only defined to be able to see which processing logic I'm still to configure. In here, then I may decide to add a new filter on whatever attribute really the rule is associated with. So I would be able to choose an attribute name. So in this case, for example, I'll be able to um, filter on a specific domain. And perhaps here we just want to see account rules, and we'll be able to add this filter, and that's how our grid um, is further filtered to the relevant rules. Only for rules that are custom and are only defined, we will need to provide the processing logic associated with it. In order to do that, we'll need to trigger a data extraction. So I can do that via the UI, where I can extract input data. I'll be prompted with a summary of what the rule is intended to achieve. I can start my extraction, and I can follow the extractions in my input data extractions tab, where I can download on disk the information that is available to build the data quality conditions in Flow Designer, if that is a custom rule that still requires its logic. Rules that have already been built can be tested through the system. So I can start a workflow test from the UI, and I can then, again, a summary of the rule that I wish to test, and I can then follow my tests via, via the appropriate tab, where I can see the running tests, the tests that have been successful, and if a test has been failed, I can then investigate the reason for this failure by pulling back the error associated with that execution. Rules can, of course, be edited and deleted if enabled. So if they're implemented and they need to be enabled, this can happen via the user interface. And finally, rules can also be promoted. The promotion is intended to send a rule from a development environment after, for example, the appropriate tests have been conducted and be promoted to a production environment or to a UAT environment. We can effectively set up all of the steps required according to the rule life cycle that is desired by the customer. So when I wish to promote a rule, again, I'll be given a summary of what the rule is, and this is going to send my rule um, onto the next system in the life cycle of this rule. Let's see how we can create new rules within the system. So to create a new rule definition, I would go through a wizard type experience. I would be able to select two types of rule projects. One is custom, which means that I will have to build this data quality rule in the Flow Designer Studio after having provided the definition, or I could choose a generic rule already available in the system to then be able to just provide a definition to be iterated against an existing processing unit. So if I wish to build a custom one first, I can decide to pick a prefix that may describe what my rule is doing. I could decide to define a new prefix. I can ask the software to auto-generate a rule ID for me, or I can, of course, type my own. I can then give a name and a description to this rule. And I can choose, not much fantasy for me during this demo, I can then choose the appropriate dimension. I would like to highlight, I added a test dimension here. So it means that without any software development, you can define what is included in this drop-down list. This is because, for example, at Datactics, we use the DCAM standard for data quality, but we have other customers using different standards, and therefore it's totally configurable which DQ dimension values you would like to have in the drop-down. wizard then takes me through a set of operational attributes. I can choose a schedule for this rule. In this case, I only have a default schedule. I could add a new one. We have discussed how different source system may have different frequency need for data quality monitoring. I can define a permission group. So if I wish to send data quality breaks to data stewards for review, this would be how I send it to the appropriate group. We can then, if the rule is expected to create many data quality issues, and I just wanted to set a limit to how many data quality issues the rule can produce for performance reasons, I could do that here, and I could define how many breaks this rule has to generate, or I could choose this default system, which is a value that can be set up in the system properties, or I can leave it, of course, unlimited. Finally, I can set up many attributes that belong to the rule. Again, these are configurable, so these are attributes that exist in this demo instance. So for example, here I want to set up some like a data domain. Perhaps I want to set up a data subdomain. I may want to decide on a weight for the rule. I could decide what the weight is for this specific rule. Many attributes that can be populated. And then finally, an important step is to configure the inputs for this rule. So again, we would base the input on the data source views that we have previously configured. If we haven't previously configured them, no panic. We can still add the new data source view from this layout. So in this case, we may choose uh, to leverage one of the existing views that have already been generated. Then at this level, within that view, we can decide which are the appropriate attributes for data quality monitoring within this specific data quality condition. We can decide what is the main one, for example, here, which would be the critical data element that I'm looking to measure. If there is a primary key that could help us for the remediation loop to update fixed data back at source automatically, you can define it here. And these are some other technical attributes, probably too much detail for this demo. And that is how I have generated a new data quality condition within the system. Insights Hub can be used by data quality authors to effectively monitor the result of their work. Most often, it is a landing page for data stewards that wish to have a clear picture of the data quality trends over time. So here is our data quality metrics tab. At Datactics, we can also integrate with BI layers, but we brought some of the key statistics back into the application, into ADQ. So it's important to know that you can choose to create as many views as required, how you want to present your reports here. In this particular demo report, I added a variety of filters, and I have 3 tabs that I'm going to show. You can have as many tabs and as many filters as you wish. The key attributes that are displayed are the number of breaks that have failed the data quality check, the number of rules that have been applied against the data points, how many actual data points have been measured, and how many critical data elements have been measured in this exercise. The timelines then show the the amount of breaks that have been generated over time, and by using the rule weights as coefficients, then we can calculate the data quality score and how it evolves during the timeline. All of these filters are obviously possible to apply to then reflect on the results. In these tabs here, we can also see a view of the remediation. So in this case, all of our records are unresolved. We performed no remediation, but the idea is that this pie chart would start having a blue area as your data stewards work on the data to fix the data quality issues. Finally, we have an attribute breakdown here. So um, these filters can be created in the form of pie charts, where you can effectively see how your data quality issues are distributed against a series of metadata tags. So in this case, for example, I can see the distribution by, by business area, by subdomain, and by data domain. At Datactics, we believe that a strong area of differentiation we have against other data quality tools is the ability to analyze the time series that is generated by continuously monitoring the data over time. So this is what Advanced Insights is all about, is effectively an analysis of the data quality history. This is arranged per source. And there are three key attributes that are displayed here. One is the average remediation time. So how long does it take for me to fix averagely a data quality issue? So for how many days or for how many executions has it been constantly reappearing in the system? The second key attribute is um, how much time does it take averagely for an issue to appear again? So there may be a faulty manual process that keeps on generating data quality issues, or there may be an automated ETL or data pipeline um, that effectively resurfaces the same problems recurringly. There's also another metric, which is the average number of reoccurrences. So averagely, an individual record, how many times does it averagely break over time in the timeline that I'm analyzing? This can be plotted as these averages may change um, as the data evolves. Using this time series analysis, we're also able to look into the future with predictive insights. So we're deploying a machine learning algorithm to analyze the distribution of breaks in the past to then predict a distribution in the future. And this can be a useful tool to allocate the correct amount of resources to fix data quality issues in the future. From an initial high-level view, we can then drill down into specific sources. So for example, here I drill down into the first of my sources, and I can see that this contains two tables. Again, the three attributes that we have already described will be um, then recalculated for the specific tables. And then again, drilling down into one of the two specific tables here, we can see for each of the primary keys contained within the table, how many breaks were observed for a primary key, how many of these are open, how many of these are currently closed, so resolved, um, the average remediation time for that specific primary key, um, and again, reoccurrence time and number of occurrences. This is quite important because it allows you to map these concepts against the criticality of your data. So the idea is that the more critical is a data attribute, or perhaps even the more critical is a specific customer, and you could measure the criticality by mapping it to attributes in the data itself. So, for example, there may be a customer that has a very high exposure and therefore must have a very high quality data associated with it. So, for this specific IDs, we can calculate a timeline of data quality. Timeline of data quality is a great tool for seeing for analyzing the history of all of the issues across the different rules and therefore the different data quality dimensions that a specific record um, may have had uh, during the analyzed timeline. So in this case, I can see when rules have been broken, when rules have been fixed. I can see that there's been two rules associated with the data quality issues for this specific primary key. This gives me a full timeline of data quality for this specific record. Finally, at Datactics, we are not just about measuring data quality, but we're also about fixing data issues. Um, So we also take the permissions to the granular data very seriously. There is a double check in place here. A user must first have access to all of the data sources that have generated an issue, and also within the issue itself, the user must have the correct permission against the data quality clinic repository, which is what has been used to store this information. Again, in this specific rule, I can see account numbers, balances, and associated credit cards and credit card types. I can decide to filter on whatever I wish um, to customize this grid, and I can add whatever filter types I want here. So in this case, for example, if I wanted to see just associated card types that don't have any values. Finally, the most granular level of the remediation interaction is to go into a specific record and start to fix the information of that specific record. I can of course change the values with anything that should be corrected. So here I could decide to add an associated card type, for example, um, or I can decide to give it different break types and root cause, which are effectively attributes that can help with the analysis of these data quality issues over time. Finally, we have a state. So in this case, we have unresolved issue. We could decide to resolve it, and we could decide to assign this specific issue to a specific data steward.
As a best-of-breed data quality tool, it is crucial that the Datactics platform has strong integration capabilities. As we move towards data mesh and data fabric architectures, the ability to play nicely as part of an organization's data landscape is imperative. Broad integration capabilities allow for the smooth flow of data across various domains and enables teams to collaborate, share insights, and make data-driven decisions. As the number of domain teams and data sources grow, the ability to integrate new datasets and technologies seamlessly becomes vital. It enables Datactics to adapt to evolving business needs and accommodate future changes without disrupting the overall data ecosystem. In summary, strong integration abilities are essential for enabling a unified view of data, facilitating data movement and synchronization, promoting interoperability, and supporting scalability. Consolidation integration enables clients to leverage the combined capabilities of the two firms to visualize and understand data quality throughout the enterprise without being tied to one single enterprise data governance and quality platform. This provides greater flexibility to firms exploring their data governance strategies, empowering them to make use of best-of-breed technology that aligns with their business operational model. In regards to data cataloging tools, Datactics supports two-way integration with Calibra. Metrics and metadata from Datactics can be posted into Calibra to populate a physical data dictionary. Similarly, we can pull information from Calibra via GET APIs, such as role metadata, users, and user groups to populate the rule dictionary. Comparable integration capabilities are also available for Elation.
Here you can see I have selected my customer table, and I can see that there is a warning on my health tab. By then selecting the data health metrics, I can easily see that there have been two data quality rules surfaced by the Datactics integration with the Elation data catalog. A key driver for data quality is trust and confidence in key business metrics and reports. It's critical that the catalog, in its role as an exploration tool, allows users to have conversations about data quality by relating the quality scores to catalogued metrics and reports. I can now see that there is a check taking place on the completeness of the email field that is passing with a good status and a data quality score of 98%. However, I also have a validation check against my email field that is showing that the data quality score is at 85% and is potentially falling below its allocated threshold of data quality. Providing the health metrics in the Elation data catalog helps the DQ consumer understand whether this data is in fact fit for purpose.
Integration with ticketing systems such as Jira or ServiceNow allow Datactics to send alerts to users for certain events. This is typically used to alert a user that a data quality exception has occurred for a particular rule and assigns the remediation efforts to the relevant user. Alternatively, a user can be alerted that a data issue has been resolved, which is normally necessary for updating at-source workflows. Further information on our products can be found online on our public knowledge base, which provides solutions to issues and answers to frequently asked questions, and includes e-learning courses to further improve user proficiency of the platform components.